I was really debating on whether to put this kind of video up on my channel. As you can see, I've always sort of kept to myself and maintained a pretty neutral opinion on the gaming world throughout my YouTube history. Armour will always be the foundation of my channel. However, today I'm here to talk about something that has gotten under my skin so much that I simply can't ignore it anymore. Battlefield 5 is a travesty to the Battlefield franchise, and I have 5 reasons to tell you why I think exactly that. Before I do that, let me give you a bit of a backstory. I grew up without consoles or video games, and when I was around 13, I built my first PC and was instantly hooked on Battlefield 3 around 2011 to 2012 when it was in its prime. I watched Level Cap, X Factor, Frankie, Jack, Lutin and Matimio religiously and stayed up to date on all the latest patches, news and DLC releases. For me, Battlefield 3 was endlessly fun and spontaneously brilliant. What I mean by that is a large majority of the joy from that game came from those only in Battlefield moments. Fleeing from attack helicopters on Firestorm, the flak of the gunner's cannon tearing up the flaming building around you. Suddenly, a guy comes toe to toe with you and you're in 2 fights at once. Do you divert your attention to him or do you continue your escape from the gunship watching you? It was awesome. I played Battlefield 5 for a grand total of 5 hours in the open beta and soon after cancelled my pre-order. Let's get into my reasons why. Reason number 1. EA doesn't value the core Battlefield experience. It's no secret that EA loves money. Look at this segment from Band Inc.'s Slav Vader is not amused at EA shenanigans video. Everyone, even the Armour 3 community, know it. The question is though, where exactly is this money going? How will it be reinvested into supporting the current and future versions of Battlefield games? Level Cap recently made a video called "Is Battlefield Killing Itself with Innovation?", where he outlines a company like EA's need to innovate and create a new selling point for a new Battlefield game, and how this is actually killing the franchise. Level Cap proposes the view that innovation isn't always healthy in some industries like the gaming world, and how it is almost exempt from this protocol. If something works, like how Bad Company 2 worked and played, people don't want change, they want the old days. You might argue this view is tinted by good old nostalgia, but I'd say nostalgia only means a good thing, i.e. it reflects a positive overall experience in general. When I think of Armour 3, I think of the great memories I've had and the friends I've made by playing it. I don't think about 15 FPS or the memory leak bug. If I do the same for Battlefield 1, I personally remember snippets of good and bad. The stupid automatic weapons shredding me, but also the awesome spectacle of a burning airship crashing down in an Italian mountainside. EA have slowly, bit by bit, been biting more and more chunks out of the very framework that makes Battlefield games what they are. When I played Battlefield 5, I was impressed by the eye candy as expected, but the gunplay was unrewarding, quick and jovial, especially for a World War II themed game.
What the fuck just happened there?
I'm going to put it out there, this is a CoD knockoff with tanks and planes. However, Battlefield isn't defined by the vehicles or graphics, or even the gunplay. It's defined by a culmination of factors such as teamwork, constantly changing firefight dynamics such as the sudden presence of a tank in a conquest point, simulating the unpredictability of real life warfare, the tactical awareness of your loadout for certain situations and game modes, and lastly, the dynamic destruction of your environment, leaving a satisfying, memorable impact on the player playing. EA or DICE or whatever fat cat in his corporate sky tower decides what's what have been slowly acclimatising us to less and less of that treasured Battlefield experience to cater to the need to bolster shares and profit margins by competing with Call of Duty. Isn't it ironic that Battlefield became the very thing it was trying to compete with in the first place? If you didn't play the Battlefield 5 beta, you missed out on a small and underwhelming 2 maps that, by the way, were made out to be massive on the trailers as usual, and gunplay that resembles Titanfall, CoD, and some weird Battlefield 1, Battlefield Hardline hybrid. Reason number 2, the PR disaster. It's of course no secret that Battlefield 5 was a train wreck even before it reached our shelves in the open beta. The opening trailer reached a significant amount of internet backlash, both in dislikes and feature articles from disgruntled gamers and journalists. The game was cultivated on the idea of World War II. It had tanks, Spitfires, and women? I don't want to get into a massive gender debate on how you can select a female player model in games like PUBG and Fortnite, but the game is quite literally twisting history. A catastrophic event like World War I, which killed almost 16 million people, was at least portrayed with the dignity and graphic brutality it deserved in Battlefield 1. I still vividly remember the first mission through mud and blood, trundling along no man's land, with various soldiers throwing their hands on their ears and collapsing around me with fear and panic. It was powerful. Frankly, their depiction of World War II makes me shudder. If I could even begin to be in a veteran's shoes who had witnessed the atrocities they had seen in that war, I would recoil with disgust at Battlefield 5. Yes, it's just a game, but technically games are a part of art, and art is a part of human culture, and human culture is made up of history. This perverse reality has female soldiers brandishing snipers with claw arms and uniforms like they're out of a movie audition for futuristic warlord hipster. As someone who studies English at university, stories are made powerful by resembling some truth to reality. Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2 and even BF4 had tangible stories. In Bad Company 2 especially, you felt like you truly cared about your squaddies. You felt that danger of stepping into an enemy occupied building, not just for yourself, but for your fellow comrades who you became familiar with and cared for. Now you might say Battlefield games are multiplayer games anyway, but I think Jack Fragg's video about Battlefield 3 hype speaks volumes in my favour. Even someone who has devoted so much time into the franchise almost gives a backhanded middle finger to DICE by saying how Battlefield 3 was triumphant in its marketing campaign, right as the BF5 hype train is derailing and descending into endless hate threads and videos like this one. The BF5 PR releases and marketing strategy is like watching Donald Trump's Twitter feed. It simultaneously enrages you and saddens you. How did we get here? Reason number 3, Battlefield 5/EA doesn't know how to take the community's ramblings with a pinch of salt. As I stated at the beginning of this video, I watched the franchise on YouTube religiously as a child and eventually played it for hours on end when I bought my first PC. I'm a die-hard Battlefield fan, but what I struggle to say now is that I am a fan of the franchise itself. I am a Battlefield 3 and 4 fan. This point intertangles with how EA have gotten away from that core Battlefield experience we know and love. Now, I will actually take the viewpoint that Battlefield has become a victim of its own community in a way. Jack did a video on how the CTE has removed some of the surprise and excitement of a new map release, and I agree with this, but I'd also go as far to argue that the community has grown into a self-concocted weapon of contradiction and chasing tails, repeating the same mistakes over and over. What I mean by this is the conflicting opinions from forum posts, YouTube videos, and content producers have bombarded the devs with so much anger and desire to drastically change what only needed a light polish. Then we are left with a Battlefield that, well, isn't our own anymore. Hence the not my Battlefield hashtag. This brings me onto the 4th point. Reason 4, Battlefield 5 is a phony. Of course, it's already been covered previously, but it is important to reiterate that Battlefield 5 is a mockery of World War II. All of their marketing slogans that the game is World War II like you've never seen it is true because we have literally never seen it. The history books and pictures and accounts from veterans would paint an entirely different perspective to what they're doing. There are no Nazi flags, there's no accuracy, there's no grit, no respect to the fact that this was a real historical event that killed millions of our own people across the world. So lots of other reviewers have stated that Battlefield 5 is trying to be something it's not. It's almost trying to be two things at once. It longs to show that super realistic side of warfare through features like attrition, health regen to 75%, barricading the environment, but it ultimately falls flat on its face since there's no shell shock, stamina, bolt actions only, and almost instant time to kill. I think you'll admit this isn't what Battlefield is. It's not armor, it's not ultra hardcore. So what exactly is this residual tat doing in our game? Battlefield ditches some of those extra bits of realism in favour of a more run and gun style where you can get those kill streaks without being punished by mechanics you would die for in Arma 3. This is fundamentally what makes the game a phony, as in it is neither here nor there in its place within the franchise, and ultimately this unpredictability of what it is and isn't is what makes it difficult to pinpoint an opinion on after you finish playing. Should I hate it, love it, or give it another chance? I recall a similar fate happening to Hardline 2, and that says it all. Reason 5. The game isn't fun and memorable. When I played through World at War for the first time, torturing the civilians to death was a memorable and almost traumatic event in the campaign to me. I remembered it and I respected that this was a real historical event. When I think of Battlefield 4, I'm reminded of insane clutches with the attack heli on Shanghai. Nope, never mind. Insane sniper shots. And funny moments with friends.
Fuck you. Oh, what are you doing? I need to repair us.
Ollie, how did we survive? Battlefield 5 might not have had the shelf life to give people that kind of experience yet, since it's only been in beta, but I just think the fundamental concept of it is utterly flawed. A friend of mine said something quite nice the other day, and that it was, we still got annoyed when we played BF4. However, the difference between that and BF5 is that we were annoyed at how players played it, rather than how the game itself was designed. BF5 is small, scaled down, and it has a horrible customization system that doesn't reward choice, and the gunplay itself feels like this awful combination of Hardline, Warfighter and BF1. I do want to mention there are of course many upsides to BF5 in comparison to its counterparts, but in the grand scheme of things, DICE have a lot of work to do, and I'm not confident that they can pull it off. We'll have to wait and see, but one thing I'm sure of is that the game is definitely not worth a pre-order. Have a great day, guys. See you soon. Tommy out.
Get up. Like in the.
Oh my god.
There's fucking 2 of them on the train up high. There's fucking like 4 of them fucking running in.